All right. So, by now, many of you should be aware of what the produce safety rule is about. If not, we can give you a quick update. It went into effect on January 26, 2016. One of 7 rules under the Food Safety Modernization Act. The produce safety rule establishes for the first time science-based minimum standards for safe growing, harvesting, packing, and holding of fruits, veggies, and grown for human consumption. Um, we'll touch on it later, so you can see if you have certain vegetables or produce at your garden you don't think you are, um, but we'll cover that later. All right. For the first time, these will be regulated inspection. Regulators will come out to the farm and do inspections. In Delaware, Anna and I we are credentialed, so you see one of us, and we're credentialed on behalf of the FDA. And here is Miss Anna Wicks.
Good morning, guys. So one big question that many growers ask is, are they covered? So the first step to determine that is to identify the commodities that you grow on your farm. So if you only grow one of the commodities listed on your screen, you would not be covered under the produce safety rule because those commodities are considered rarely consumed raw. So they're normally cooked. So if you only grow potatoes, you're not covered under the rule. If you grow anything else in addition to what you see on the screen, such as strawberries that could be considered consumed raw, you could potentially be covered by these regulations. So now you're thinking, well, okay, so I grow some strawberries and lettuce, I grow corn and sweet potatoes, so maybe this rule does apply to me. Well, the second step is to look at how FDA categorizes farm size. You're either exempt or you're covered. If you're exempt, it's because you're doing under $25,000 averaged over a 3-year period in average annual produce sales. Or you're only growing produce that's considered rarely consumed raw, or the produce grown on your farm is only for personal consumption. If you are covered, you are broken down into 3 different categories based on farm size. So large farms are those with over $500,000 in average annual produce sales. Small farms are those with $250 to $500 in average annual produce sales, and very small farms are those with $25,000 to $250,000 in average annual produce sales. From there, if you're under the produce safety rule, we can take a look at possible modified exemptions for your farm. This means you will be subject to the rule, but eligible for alternative requirements as stated in the regulations. I'll go over the basics of the eligibility for each of these requirements in the next couple slides, but basically every farm, regardless of size, that's covered under the produce safety rule can be eligible for a processing exemption. There's a large misconception that the produce rule is only for fresh market produce, and that is not true, and I'll speak on that in a minute. In addition, farms with less than $500,000 in average annual produce sales, so those that are small or very small, can also qualify for what's called a qualified exemption. On the last slide, I mentioned that farms with under $500,000 in average annual food sales, I said produce sales, but it's food sales, may be eligible for a qualified exemption. So you're eligible for this exemption if you can prove that you meet both of the requirements listed on the slide. So first, your farm must do under $500,000 adjusted for inflation, averaged out annually over the past 3 years. And you must sell over 51% of your food sales directly to qualified end users. So those people who are either the consumer of food, a restaurant or retail food establishment located in Delaware, or a restaurant or retail food establishment that is located no more than 275 miles from the farm that produced the food. So there's 2 definitions here to be aware of. We're looking at produce sales for if you're covered under the produce safety rule. Then we're looking at food sales to determine qualified exemption eligibility. And food sales is everything that includes things for food and drink for man or other animals. So your eggs, your meat, your grains, chewing gum is also included. So I mentioned earlier that there's a large misconception that the produce safety rule is only for fresh market produce, and that is not true. The rule does acknowledge that there are farms that grow crops that can be both fresh market and go for processing. And because of that, the regulations provided processing exemptions for farms that would otherwise be covered due to commodity and sales. So these farms would be the ones who grow commodities, for example, peas and cucumbers, and sell their crops for commercial processing, that would undergo an additional kill step to reduce the presence of microorganisms of public health significance. And just like the qualified exemption, these farms may not have to follow the produce safety rule in its entirety, but there are modified requirements that you must show to maintain this exemption status. This year, we will be issuing certificates for all farms regardless of their exemption. These will be awarded based on their exemption type. These certificates will be good through April 30th of the following year. The deadline for these exemptions will be April 30th, as that will also be the deadline for mandatory registration of produce farms in Delaware, which I'll talk about on the next slide, well, in a couple slides. And feel free to email us anytime if you need an exemption form, and that the email you see on your screen, de.producesafety@delaware.gov, is a resource mailbox that Amanda and I can both have access to. This is just an example of what your certificate will look like. It will be tailored to your specific exemption type and have your farm name on it. So I mentioned mandatory annual registration. On June 11, 2019, the state of Delaware put into effect additional regulations that are meant to complement our existing FDA authority. It requires that all farms in Delaware that grow produce register with the Department of Ag. It also allows Department of Ag personnel to enter any farm that may grow, harvest, pack, or hold produce for human consumption to conduct inspections, request and review records, and sample to verify compliance as needed with the produce safety rule. We are making it mandatory to have your registration submitted to us by April 30th of every year. We also we are aware of the repetitive nature of filling out the same application annually. So sometime in the near future, we should have an online platform live for you to go into and either register as a new facility, claim your facility in the system, and then you should just be able to make updates as needed into the system annually. And hopefully this will make everything a lot easier. So in 2020, it was a pretty interesting year. COVID pretty much halted everything, but we did start inspections for covered large and small produce farms. So those who are doing over $250,000 annually in average annual produce sales. In 2020, we also renewed our MOU with UD Cooperative Extension. The MOU allows UD to assist us on on-farm readiness reviews. These reviews are confidential, free risk assessments of growing facilities to prepare farmers for what to expect during a regulatory inspection, and also designed to help growers mitigate potential risk areas. So basically, it's kind of have an idea of what to expect during an inspection. We offer these to everybody, regardless if you're covered or not. And the team currently is Dr. Gordon Johnson, Dr. Callie Neal, Jennifer Jones, and myself. This MOU also allows UD to assist in delivering produce safety grower trainings. So what should you expect in 2021? Well, you should expect to register again. The deadline, like I said, is April 30th. It is mandatory for farms that grow produce in Delaware, and the online registration should be live sometime in the next few months. If approved, your certificates will be awarded for all exemption types. There will be even certificates awarded for those who register with us who are exempt farms based on why they're exempt. So going back to the first couple slides, if you are exempt because you're doing under 25,000, either growing for personal consumption or growing something that's rarely consumed raw, you will get a certificate. Inspections for all farms will begin this year, regardless of size, who are subject to the produce safety rule. Produce Safety Alliance grower trainings are going to continue to be offered. It is required for you to have a training completed if you are fully covered underneath the produce safety rule. That means at least one person of supervisory authority must be trained on the curriculum within this class. And a nationally recognized certificate is awarded at the completion of the course. Also, we will continue to offer on-farm readiness reviews and technical assistance opportunities to anyone who would like to benefit from those types of activities. So upcoming training opportunities, we actually have a produce safety training scheduled for this Friday, but we are currently full. So we are looking for another date towards the end of February, maybe March, for another training. So be on the lookout for an announcement for that class. If you need this course or would like to take it, feel free to email me or Jen Jones or even Gordon. And we can put you down for kind of first come, first serve and get you in as first for that training, the next training. Unless COVID dictates otherwise, the next training will be held again in a hybrid format. So it's going to be both online and in person. The in-person attendance will most likely still be limited to 10 individuals. Again, if you're covered under the produce safety rule, at least one person of supervisory authority must take this training. Just a quick reminder, regardless of farm size, every farm that's covered under the produce safety rule was to be in compliance last January, and every farm covered under the rule is subject to an inspection beginning this spring. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Amanda to update you on what's going on with the water part of the produce safety rule and cost share.
Thank you, Anna. All right, so for the water, it's about the same as last year. Large farms, you're going to have to start coming into compliance in 2022. Right now, we suggest that everybody start taking a water sample of their water and start building their water profile. So that way there's no surprises later on. You could visit our website or call us, and there's labs that that are approved for certain testing on the update. All right. Okay, we still have available is audit and water testing cost share. If you're interested in doing this, please get in contact with Anna, myself, or many of you guys know Brenda Clements. Delaware Department of Agriculture is funded the USDA Crops Block Grant and funded one of Delaware. We still have plenty of money left over, so if you guys haven't spent all the money up and you decide you want to call back, we can look at it. We can cost up to 80% of the audit with a maximum reimbursement of $1,000 per year per farm. 80% of cost of the water testing up to $500 per year per farm. And please provide the receipts for that. And this is a first come, first serve. So please get a hold of us. If you guys want to contact us, we need you for farm registration. If you need fact sheets on farm readiness, technical questions, or anything to produce safety, growers alliance training, please get a hold of us. And you can send us an email, phone call, or you could, I don't believe we are taking any people at the building yet. And below or attaches our contact information. I want to thank you guys, and I hope everybody stays safe out there with COVID. We will be coming to your farm wearing a mask, and we will follow COVID guidelines set forth by the CDC. If you don't feel comfortable with certain things, please give us a call, but we will call you before we come out there so we can talk about everything. And I want to thank you guys for sitting in here today.
All right. First thing, though, I wanted to tell you about a proposed regulation that's called this requirements for additional traceability records for certain foods under the Food Safety Modernization Act. So this is currently a regulation that's being proposed, and comments are being accepted until next week. Under this rule, it will impact most wholesale fruit and vegetable growers in Delaware and some retail growers. The comment period ends on January 21st, so that's next week. And so we encourage anybody that may be affected by this rule to look at it and make comments. What does it propose? Those who manufacture, process, or pack or hold a food that is on that particular list, which we'll show you in a minute, would be required to establish and maintain records associated with specific critical tracking events, including growing, receiving, transforming, creating, and shipping. For each one of these critical tracking events, you're required to establish and maintain records containing key data elements such as traceability lot code, the date the product was received, the date the product was shipped, and a product description. In addition, those subject to the rule would also be required to create and maintain records related to their internal traceability program. The proposed rule would require records be maintained either as electronic, original paper records, or true copies. And in addition, the proposal states that in the event of a foodborne illness outbreak, a product recall, or other threat to public health, the FDA could require the firm submit within 24 hours the electronic sortable spreadsheet containing relevant traceability information for specific foods and date ranges. So the idea here is that the FDA wants to make the tracebacks to improve the quality of tracebacks and also improve the speed of tracebacks. So there is a list that's being proposed. For produce growers, I'm not going to go over some of the other things like seafood I didn't even include here, but cucumbers, herbs, leafy greens, including fresh cut leafy greens, so lettuce, kale, chard, arugula spinach, collards. Then melons, and here they include all types of melons such as cantaloupe, honeydew, and watermelon. So this is one that I'm going to place a comment on because I don't believe that watermelon really is going to require the same traceability standards, as we have not had major outbreaks associated with watermelon. Peppers, certainly we have pepper growers in the region, and tomatoes. We don't have any fresh cut vegetable operations of any size in Delaware, so but it is there listed. So again, cucumbers, leafy greens, melons, peppers, tomatoes would be all require a higher level of traceback. There are some exemptions, just as we were talking about exemptions to the produce rule. The small farms under 25,000, farms selling food directly, so direct marketers would be, and transporters of food, those would all be exempt. And so, again, these are the proposed rules. We would encourage everybody to read what these rules are and then send comments to the FDA. You have until January 21st. You can submit electronically to regulations.gov. And you can still do written regulations, but right now I think speedier it would be to do electronically. Do remember, if you do put electronic comments, they are available for the public to see. So you want to make sure that if you have any confidential information that you submit it in a written form and under their confidential submission guidelines. This information I obtained through this fact sheet at Rutgers. So if you just Google or use your search engine to type for new traceability regulation proposals and Rutgers, and you'll come up with this fact sheet. All right, so that's a proposed new regulation. We won't know when it will come into effect because, again, they're still taking comments, but eventually we're going to have some enhanced traceability standards for certain produce that you could potentially grow here in Delaware. And for wholesale growers, this is going to mean another level of record keeping. All right, just to reiterate, Amanda and Anda also talked about these. We do offer Produce Safety Alliance grower trainings. And the current one for this Friday is full. We'll be organizing another one coming up, and we generally have another one in the fall, but we can organize these as necessary to accommodate you. We are proposing to do a number of workshops this year. Of course, in-person workshops. Of course, COVID stopped that. We're still hoping to maybe be able to do some this summer. No matter what, we're going to do some electronic versions. There's some really good information coming out of the southern region for things like cleaning and sanitizing and water treatment. And we may partner with them to bring those workshops electronically. So these are some of the things we wanted to prioritize: produce washing, cleaning and sanitizing, and then water treatment. As Anna said, we're available as a team to go out and do on-farm readiness reviews. We can also do specific assessments if you have a new facility or facility retrofit. For beginning farmers who want to just come out and look at the farm before they get started, packing line audits, these would all be kinds of things that we can do. As always, I'm available for consultation on farm food safety planning. So if you have a plan that you wanted to have reviewed, I'm certainly willing to do that. We can do a plan writing workshop if that is something that you think would be useful for you. We also have record forms that could be used if you're under gap audits. And we have record forms that you can use for the Food Safety Modernization Act audits. So example there would be a worker training record template for FSMA. We also are, as Anna said, with Delaware Department of Agriculture, Cooperative Extension is there to also help with technical assistance for things like field issues such as drainage, or the produce water or wash water drainage, facilities issues such as retrofitting a cool box, or training. So if you want to have us involved in worker training, we have done that over the years and are continuing to do that at a low level. And we also have a lot of resources, written resources. We have signs, we have training aids for people who want to train their employees. We have videos, we have flip charts, lots of fact sheets, information for direct marketers. So these are all available to you. All you have to do is ask and we can get those materials to you. So here's our contact information. Your first point of contact should be Jennifer Jones. Jennifer, you want to say something, say hi to everybody?
Hello, everyone. As you see, there's my email or phone number. Call me anytime if you have questions or need help.
Jennifer would be available, for example, to bring out training materials to you and that kind of thing. And also she works directly one-on-one on for people to help get FSMA compliant. You see my email and my cell phone number there. So again, Cooperative Extension working in partnership with Delaware Department of Agriculture and our faculty at the Animal Food Science Department. We're there to help you comply and understand and work with these regulations and become more better in what you're doing with your produce food safety on your farm. I see David Marvel's online. He is the president of Fruit and Vegetable Growers Association of Delaware. You want to say hi to everybody, Dave?
Hello, everyone. A little different seeing everyone like this year. There's good pluses and minuses to this. The biggest minus is there's not going to be a lunch after this today, so you're on your own for lunch. But it's good to see everybody's name at least up on the screen.
Everybody got the deadlines are for your compliance deadlines. Remember that you do have to register with the Delaware Department of Agriculture on a yearly basis. You mentioned that water is supposed to check 2 times a year. Who's in charge of that control? You yourself are the person that will be doing your water sampling. We have lists of labs. We have labs in Harrington, Salisbury, Wilmington that you can use that are doing the tests that are needed. You'll be doing a generic E. coli, so we can give you information on what kind of tests to get. But it's up to you to do to have the test. If you need assistance with that, Jennifer can help you with taking your samples and making sure that you know how to get them to the right people.